All right. Well, welcome to the call of Monday night. We are excited you're here. Power of Peptides. My name is Kelly Hoover, and I'm going to be hosting tonight's call. We are so excited that you took a few moments out of your evening to jump on the call tonight. And if you are a guest of someone here, we just want to say a special welcome. And if you have, we're in a place where you can drop in the comments and if you're a guest of someone, just so we can acknowledge and make you feel extra specially welcome, we'd love to know you're a guest. And if you're on any peptides now, maybe just shouting in the messages what peptides you are on, so we can definitely acknowledge that as well. So I am excited about Joyce and Kate sharing their stories tonight. We also are going to have our CEO and our founder, Honey Sagari, will be joining us, and we have a special treat with Dr. Wagner, one of our doctors who is going to be coming on and giving us a little education about the pillars of peptides. So that's a little treat to kind of start off. But first, I'll tell you a little bit by myself, and then I'm going to have Kate share her story. But I first started learning about peptides about 3 years ago when I was watching a good friend of mine post cancer journey really get introduced to the peptides and started off following kind of her journey. Interesting enough, my background is in pharmaceutical sales. And once I started learning specifically about GLP-1 peptides, I realized I was actually in type 2 diabetes sales in the pharmaceutical world when these products first came out. Now, you guys, I'm going to take you back because this was over 2 decades ago. It was about 24 years ago when I was in the market selling type 2 diabetes medications. And interesting enough, GLP-1 medications were introduced, once daily injections by Ada Victoza to introduce to help with insulin resistance, to help A1C for type 2 diabetes. And I remember a year into this seeing that the endocrinologists are saying people are losing weight. And the fascinating, really watching people who had struggled with their weight for so long, like I know myself and a lot of us had, and to see them start losing weight. And it was very interesting 2 decades ago to start to see the clinical research then get studied. So one of the biggest myths that we have is that these products are new, and what do we know as far as safety goes? These products have been around for over 2 decades. So I always want to kick the call off with that and just talking about the safety and how incredible they are. And I know for myself, I had been stuck and had about 20 pounds of just that fluff that I honestly could not get rid of. And I myself went on semaglutide and tirzepatide. I lost a total of 33 pounds and have been microdosing, keeping the weight off, keeping the food noise away, feeling absolutely incredible. I've been microdosing now for 6 months and I feel amazing. So super excited to have Kate. I want to introduce Kate, and she's going to jump on and share her story. I know she's in between carpools, so I was like, we're going to get you on first, Kate, to share her story. But Kate has a great NAD plus story. So Kate, I'm going to toss it over to you and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your peptide journey so far.
Sure. Can you hear me, Kelly? Okay, perfect. My peptide story started with a friend who reached out to me. She's on this call, Jen. She's so sweet. But she knew that I would be interested in something like this, but I kind of didn't give it the time of day for like 4 weeks. I was just letting her send messages and I was kind of buzzing through them, and she's gonna laugh when she hears me say this, but I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't have time to like read into this right now. I just life is crazy. It was around the holidays. I was like, okay, like I'm really happy for you, Jen, but I just can't right now. And so, but as I started reading more about them, I got really interested because the more she talked about it and she explained like they are a holistic approach to helping your body at a cellular level, I was like, okay, well, I'm all about that kind of stuff. You have my attention. And then I read through the types of peptides. I'm like, I don't even know where I would start. And then when I looked at NAD plus, I was like, gosh, that's all the areas of my life that are lacking right now. Like I'm so busy, just like every other mom on the planet. I know. But like if this sounds like you're like running for literally between carpools on this meeting, like going to gymnastics after this with my daughter, and working full time, just like you can't get enough caffeine to power you through the day. It seems like some days, and your sleep is affected by that, and just like the stress levels just keep rising. My husband's job moves us across the country, which it also comes with its stresses. And like the past 3 years, we've moved 3 times, which is a lot. And obviously, sorry, my son's playing a game in the background. And so that comes with its own stresses. I work out every single morning, so my body has obviously higher levels of cortisol that are affecting it in not so great ways most of the time. So when I read about NAD plus, I was like, you know what? This one seems like something I really need to try. I need better energy. I need to sleep better. I really need more patience with my kids. And a lot of the reviews I was reading were about like better cognitive function, being able to kind of regulate yourself better as the day goes on. And I'm not kidding you, the first day, oh, I'm getting some feedback, I think. Sorry, guys. The first day that I was on NAD, by the end of the day, I was on a call with Jen and Ambra, and I felt this like weird, like I was able to focus. My energy was still great even after a full, really busy day of work. My kids kept interrupting me on the call. And I was like patient with them, which obviously like people were watching and people are watching now, so I'm trying to be as patient as I can, but it's not as triggering as it was. I don't know how to explain it, but things feel significantly different. Now, I've been on, this is like 3.5 weeks for me now, or 2.5, going on 3 weeks for me now. So Wednesday will be, I don't know, I think I might have did the math wrong. It's either 2.5 or 3.5 weeks now. Regardless, I did not expect to see results that quickly. I totally thought like, this is all placebo. This can't be real. And I have felt great ever since I started. So that's my kind of story in a nutshell. I know I kind of rambled on, but
That's okay. No, I think it's great. I mean, so many people can identify with that, Kate, because people are really busy and people are stressed and they do have high cortisol. And the reality is to be able to find something that works and it works quickly. I myself felt NAD plus around my third injection, so it really is very relatable. And so thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for listening to your friend, because it is incredibly amazing how when people do reach out and they do want to share, it's because we need it, right? And sometimes we just don't know what we don't know until we get started on our story. So I know you've got a busy car full to attend, but thank you so much for taking time to share your story. I'm going to next turn it over to Honey Sagari. And if you have not had the pleasure of being introduced to this incredible woman, I had an opportunity to spend the last few days with her in her home in Palo Alto, California. And one of the reasons that I said yes to partnering with LEMD was the passion and really the mission. And it starts right here with Honey Sagari, who is the owner and the founder of LEMD. Just her passion for longevity and preventative health space and the education around getting peptides, these incredible products, for people learning about them and getting them to the homes of like normal people, right? And not just for the rich and the famous. This is what I fell in love with, and her heart and her passion for helping all of us and so many others. So, honey, I'd love to bring you on and just share a little bit about your story and kind of your passion around LEMD. And thank you for being on tonight.
Thank you, Kelly. It's good to see you. It was great seeing you this weekend and so many others that are on this call. I see Ambra, I see Jen. Oh my gosh. And I hope I see more. I see Vanessa here. I hope to see more and more of you in my home. I could host and take good care of you, love on you. But like Kelly said, this passion for longevity and preventative healthcare has started for a very long time. I understand that. I mean, I've been in longevity geriatric care for a very, very long time. I've spent most of my career in healthcare. And it was in the sick care system, really. That's where I spent a majority of my career. And I realized I'm doing it all wrong. I'm trying to help sick people maintain their health for as long as possible. It was predominantly Alzheimer's and dementia patients that we were helping through a set of protocols so that they could maintain baseline. And the realization came, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this whole thing wrong. I have to start way earlier because that's when aging really starts. Um, it starts at a cellular level and it starts when we're 18, 19 years old. So if we could create a platform where we can empower individuals and educate them and offer preventative health care. And guys, when I came up with these concepts, this was like 2017, 18. Telehealth didn't take off the way that it has, right? People were still not yet fully comfortable with telehealth. And I was like, telehealth will make that possible. And it will make it accessible. It will make it affordable. And then we could work with compounding pharmacies to make preventative health care solutions more personalized to individual needs. So I went with all of these things to a drawing board. And I was like, there's one key element I'm missing here, and that's community. I need community and I need education to really make this spread and spread the word. So I like to say here at LEMD, yes, we have great products and services. And I see Dr. Wagner is on, so he's going to talk to you about some of the peptide treatments and therapies that we offer. However, I like to think that that's the Trojan horse, that the products and services are on the outside, but at the heart and center of what we offer is a platform for impact and community and education. And that's really how you shift and change society. You get the word out, and once you're educated, you'll go pass on the information to other individuals. So that's what we're really ultimately what we're trying to do here at LEMD. We're trying to have an impact, an immense impact in the healthcare space. And it starts with our weight. That's a big lever. And we've helped thousands and thousands of patients so far get their weight down. And then once you get the weight down, you can pull on the other levers that Dr. Wagner will talk about through different peptide solutions. And then there's obviously hormone therapy, which is something that we're looking into as we look into the future, incorporating technology, AI solutions, and all sorts of other creative ways of getting our health to where we need to be. And that's how you have true impact on society. So thank you so much to all of you for being here, for wanting to learn more, for wanting to educate yourself. We have to become advocates first and foremost for ourselves. We can't rely on other people. We have to become advocates for ourselves, and then we could spread the word throughout our community. So thank you for having that sort of interest and being here. And with that said, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Wagner, who's going to share with you the key pillars and important aspects of peptide therapy.
And we know Brad Brownell very well. He's going to find wherever the
Dr. Wagner.
Hey, how's it going, honey?
Hi.
Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah, what would you like me to talk about first then? What aspects?
Well, I thought that besides GLP-1s, maybe you could touch on GLP-1s for just a few minutes, but maybe you can go over the key pillars, right? Like BPC, some secretagogues, and anything else that you'd like to suggest to our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big and well known within the category of peptides are these GLPs, whether it's semaglutide or tirzepatide. The way that they work, obviously by helping to calm down those food cravings, helping to calm down like that dopamine system within the body to where, you're not thinking about food all day. You actually feel some sort of satiety. And then with the tirzepatide, that has the GIP where that actually helps with the nutrient partitioning. So that can be, like she was talking about, our first lever to helping someone really regain back their health because we're starting at a metabolic function. So we're resetting that person's cellular weight in terms of how their body's going to process a lot of these nutrients. So it kind of like hits the reset cellularly. So moving forward, we can start to build those healthy habits and actually like reprogram those cells. I don't think people realize it, but we're just looking at the weight dropping off of the scale, but cellularly, you're actually becoming a different human being because there's different types of fat cells within the body. So as we're losing the weight, we're actually losing the quote unquote bad fat cells or less metabolically active fat cells, such as like your white fat cells. And then you can start to build up more brown fat cells within your body or have those white fat cells convert to brown fat cells where they're actually metabolically more active. So you're changing your whole biochemistry just by introducing these GLPs within your system. So I think that's like so powerful is we can literally epigenetically change ourselves cellularly just with these GLPs. And then there's a whole host of other peptides that I like to get into, but I'll start with the pillars that I primarily use and that you guys offer through LEMD. And one category is called the growth hormone secretagogues. So what falls under that category is your semirelin. That's going to be called a GHRH. That stands for growth hormone releasing hormone. Now, I like to use this in conjunction with a GLP because what that's going to do is not only is that going to help with that nutrient partitioning, but it's going to help your body hold on to more muscle, specifically more lean muscle mass. And muscle causes multiple signals within the body to happen. First off, it increases bone density. So I've seen different people mention things about the warning signs of GLPs like, oh, it's going to cause you to lose like your bone density. Well, the reason is because yes, you are losing muscle, so that's not going to put as much stress on the bone. But if we can simply add a peptide that's going to maintain that signal, you don't have to worry about that. You could actually probably increase your bone density while you're on that GLP. So that's the first one that I like to add on to it. So what that one is going to do is it's going to send a signal to the anterior pituitary gland to start the production of growth hormone. And then it's going to be released into the blood system because growth hormone is released on what's called is a pulsatile system. So it's released 3 to 8 times throughout the day, with you getting the highest pulse at night. And once that pulse starts to slow down as we age, there's a downstream events that happen because growth hormone up here, it's tied to multiple different systems within the body. So we can branch that off first. And if you branch it off and you go down to like CD36, and you follow that chain down, that becomes antifibrotic right there. So people who suffer with like PCOS or endometriosis could benefit from that increase in growth hormone within the system because that's going to help. Another one that comes down off of that branch is anabolism. Anabolism is, again, the body's ability to build muscle. That's one thing that we want to help with when someone is on a calorie restriction diet with the GLPs, is help them to maintain that muscle mass so that they're more metabolically active once they start to titrate off that GLP. The next one that it comes off of too is called vasodilation. So it could help regulate blood pressure within the system because it's going to open those blood vessels. Again, with what that's going to do is you're going to get more blood flow and nutrients throughout the body, and then it's also going to flush out all the bad stuff a lot easier as well too. And then it's also anti-inflammatory, cardioprotective, and it helps with the overall cell function. So that one in and of itself, it hits so many categories throughout the entire body. Now, we can really juice this up or amplify it with adding another simple peptide to that, which is good by itself or together. So the next one is going to be called BPC-157, and then we mix that with TB-500. Because a lot of times the way that disease happens is first you have like an injury or an insult, which leads to chronic inflammation within the body. That chronic inflammation starts the process of tissue destruction. That tissue destruction leads into scar tissue within the body and creates these dead zones. And then what happens next is the immune system starts to become either hypo or hyperactive. So in any type of condition, you really have to address the immune system as well as that inflammatory response. And that's what these two peptides do, because BPC, one, it's focusing on the musculoskeletal system. So it's helping with your ligaments, your tendons, and your joints. And it's really like turning up that healing process. But what that TB 500 is doing is not only is it also addressing the musculoskeletal system and helping with any scar tissue formation, but it's really balancing that immune system. So now we have a balanced immune system while the body is able to heal that tissue destruction that's coming on. But one thing that I like to pair it with the semarelin or the growth hormone secretagogues is because you have all this growth hormone that's being released throughout the body from the semarelin, but you have a limiting factor over here of how many receptors can accept that growth hormone. Now, when you add BPC, that increases what's called as angiogenesis. So we're going to get more nitric oxide. So again, we get more blood flow throughout the entire body. And then it increases those growth hormone receptors. So it actually amplifies that semarelin times like 20. And you just see people get better results, and you're able to move them through the funnel even faster from their weight loss journey and then transmit them into a wellness and then even anti-aging, all within those same pillar stacks right there.
That is great. I love that because there's so many, I see so many people shaking their heads. I know a lot of people have recently started their combination of BPC 157 TB 500. So I see Susan, I see some other people saying, yes, this is great. This is great. No, I love that. Honey, did you have any other questions that we wanted Dr. Wagner to answer?
Well, I think let's, for best use of our time, if anyone here has a question, raise your hand and go ahead and ask while we have the expert on. Someone said, I'm microdosing. Thank goodness this is being recorded. I'm microdosing tirzepatide and also taking NAD, and now just started the Wolverine stack.
That's great.
From Susan Davis. But does anyone have any specific questions that we can address? Maybe Dr. Wagner, you could touch on. Oh, someone does. Stacy does.
Stacy, go ahead.
All right. While Stacy asked her question, just in a nutshell, I know a lot of people couldn't make the leader training this weekend. Or not that they couldn't make it, they will be there next time. But you touched on NAD and you explained it so well, so beautifully, in a simple way. Can you just touch on that briefly, on how NAD works, how it's like a very valuable currency in the system, and why it depletes and goes down as we age?
Did I talk that much about it this weekend?
I'm sorry.
Did I talk that much about it this weekend?
Okay.
I talk so much, it's just like sometimes I forget what I talk about. Yeah, I mean, NAD is super important. So without getting like too lost in the weeds in the Krebs cycle and how ATP is produced and how NAD is produced, simple illustration is energy is the currency of the body in the form of ATP. How do we get that ATP production? NAD is super, super important in that conversion to ATP. However, though, as we age, as we lose that cellular efficiency, we lose a lot of these processes. So we're producing less ATP or our currency to keep up with our normal body's day-to-day tasks. So this is where we start to feel more run down because your body has a list of things to do on a day-to-day basis. And let's say that cost you 100K ATP. All right. And you know, when you're 18, you're able to produce 150K ATP, no problem. So you have endless energy. You don't need to sleep. You don't need to care about what you eat. Like your weight manages itself. You don't have brain fog. You feel great. You feel invincible. Now, however, though, as you age, get a little bit older, like watch out when you're 30, everything falls off a cliff. And then you get a little bit older, you start building up more inflammation, chronic disease, autoimmunity, insulin insensitivity. Now that list is going to cost you 250K ATP, and you're not getting a raise. You're actually losing cellular efficiency. So now you're even down from 150 down to 100K ATP. So there's no way you can develop the difference. So it doesn't matter how much you diet, how many supplements you take, how often you go to the gym. Unless you get an energetic raise, you're always going to be deficient. So this is where NAD can come in to help supplement or give you a raise of boost of energy currency to meet all your daily tasks that you need to do to get you back up to baseline. So if we can introduce that NAD into your system, give you more energy currency up to here so we can get you up to that 250K ATP. Now you're meeting it, and now we can start to work on those things like the inflammation, the diet and lifestyle, whatever else that you have going on within your system to get that demand down lower in terms of managing your stress, whether that's hormone replacement therapy. Then we can really tip the scales again in your favor. So again, we're using science and we're using chemistry to tip the scales in your favor so you can get more out of life with less effort.
I love that. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And just real quick, I know we're running out of time, but um, Susan asked, could you explain again how chronic inflammation causes tissue destruction and how the peptides help?
Yeah. How it helps with specifically osteoporosis is what she was looking for too. Um, so again, the way I like to explain it again is the start is that chronic inflammation. When inflammation persists within the beginning, it starts to break down all the tissue around it. And then the immune system starts to respond to that as well too, because it's like having the fire alarm on constantly. The body doesn't want that. Acute inflammation is okay. We need inflammation. Like after you work out, you need inflammation. That's going to help the muscles build. When you get injured, you need that acute inflammation to get more blood flow to the area. When we get into problems with is when it becomes chronic. So the switch is not turning off. So then it starts to break down that tissue because it doesn't understand why it's not turning off. And then again, your immune system starts to attack itself because it doesn't know or understand why the body's not getting rid of this chronic inflammation. So what we can do with these peptides is we can interrupt that signal. So when we introduce the BPC, that will stop that chronic inflammation as well as that TB500. It will stop that chronic inflammation, reset those cells, and start to reverse that tissue destruction. And then that TB500 will also start to modulate. It's called an immunomodulator. So it brings balance back to that immune system. So that's what's great about the peptides is the modulation aspect, meaning the peptides help with your individual cellular function. So for me, if my immune system is underactive, it's going to make it more active. If someone is hyperactive, it's going to make it less active. It's all about bringing it into balance. It's not like traditional Western medical system where if you take a medication, it suppresses a system and it either works for you or it doesn't. So let's use thyroid medication for an example. Thyroid medication is very tricky because it takes them a while to dial in the dose because your thyroid could be overactive one day, underactive the next day. So it really takes a long time to get that dose dialed in. With peptides, especially with BPC and TB, the dose is dialed in right from the beginning because it knows how much or how little of a cellular response you need. So that's what's really nice about these things is it's using the body's intelligence to interrupt that signal and restore it back to its original state. That's what without getting too much into it, that's specifically what TB does into it. It's called neonatal state. So when you're like first born, if nothing ever was wrong with you, it actually restores the cell to its original state, which it's literally the only peptide that does that. And it's really, really cool.
Thank you. And Blair, I'm going to pass it back to you. Or Kelly, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, that's okay. Thank you so much. We so appreciate you, Dr. Wagner and Honey. Thank you for both being on. We're going to close tonight's call, you guys, with having Joyce share her story before we hop off, and we'll just close out. Joyce, are you on? I know I saw you on earlier, and I know you have a great story with some LEMD peptides. So I'll have you come on and share. Thank you for being here. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Now can you hear me? Hi, I will do this pretty quickly. I just want to say I am 66 years old and anybody can start this. I am a medical technologist. I'm the laboratory manager where I work. And I had been on semaglutide for about a year. And when I started seeing everything about LEMD, I was really intrigued. And so I reached out. And when I found out all the peptides that were involved in the vision that they had, I had to jump on that quick. And what a difference it made. When I switched over from the semaglutide I was taking to the LEMD semaglutide, I noticed significant change where I had been stuck on the weight, the scale moving. All of a sudden, it started to move. Thank goodness, because I was plateaued for a very long time. And so that was just amazing to me. And then I had to add in the NAD plus. That has been a game changer. While I love semaglutide, don't get me wrong, the NAD, I wish I could line everybody up of a morning or once a week and give them their own shot, because I'm telling you, the world would be a better place for it. I had no energy. I would tell my sister every day after work, I was exhausted. I just absolutely had no energy. I couldn't move. I could barely walk from the entrance of the hospital out to my car. Within about 2 weeks, maybe 3, all of a sudden I noticed I had energy. I could hold my head up. I was walking straight. I could keep up walking with people. That alone was amazing. But then I started to notice the little things. I could speak. I could talk without having to search for words and having that brain fog. It was starting to lift. That took a little bit longer for me, but it's been amazing. And I've been on this since September. And then the best part of all, I have arthritis and my joint pain started to diminish. That alone, when you deal with pain every day, to have relief from that is just beyond words. I don't even have the words to put into that, except you can tell by the smile on my face that it is an amazing thing. And I am just so excited that I found something to make my life change like it did. After that came the mood swings were gone. I have more patience. It is so important to me to maintain a calm demeanor all the time and not have these mood swings going all over the place. But let me just say that along with these peptides, especially the semaglutide, the tirzepatide, while we feel like they're miracle items that we've added to our list, you have to create good habits. You have to drink the more water. You have to add the protein. You must work out, which now that my joint pains are better, I'm able to work out a little bit. They're not miracle drugs like that. They're not going to do it all on their own. So you have to put in the work and make them work for you. But you've got to develop those good habits. I'm going to end this with, I tell everybody, jump on the peptide train. You may not know about peptides, but they're coming soon. And if you don't get on there now, you're going to be left behind. And just do it for yourself. There's nothing better than good health. Thank you, Kelly, for having me on tonight.
Oh my gosh, Joyce, you're adorable. And I love your story. Thank you so much for closing us out tonight. Thank you, Kate, for sharing. Special thank you to Dr. Wagner and Honey for being on. Just so appreciate you guys. And invite someone back to Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 Central. We will have some more stories being shared, and we host these every single Monday, every single Wednesday. So bring a guest back to the next one that needs to learn more about peptides. And again, we're so grateful for everyone's time tonight, and y'all have a great evening. We'll see you again soon. Thanks again.